Okay. So good morning, dear all participants. Today is the 5th day and the last day of the faculty development program. So today in this session, I want to introduce Mr. Nihar Pradhan, who has completed his MTech degree from NIT Rourkela. Then after that, he was working as an assistant professor in Engineering College, Odisha. After that, he joined as a research scholar, PhD research scholar in NIT Meghalaya. Now, from the last 2 years, he is working on the blockchain technology. So now, in this session, he is going to tell you about the hyperledger with the fabric, and then after that, after deployment of the application, if let's say that uh, you want to trace the basically the performance of your application, so that benchmarking, some benchmarking tools are required. So he will tell you about the benchmarking tool, and then after with the benchmarking tool he will discuss some case study. So now I hope so today's session you will enjoy with the hands-on sessions with the case study. So I want to hand over this session to Mr. Nihar Pradhan. Nihar.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, I'm starting. Okay, thank you, participant. So my sessions will be like this. I mean, first 1.5 hour, it is about the hyperledger fabric, where 45 minutes I will tell about the theoretical aspects, hyperledger about the hyperledger projects, and next 45 minutes I will give you some hands-on sessions. And the after the session, next session is about the caliper, hyperledger caliper, which is a benchmarking tool to measure the performance of your any application you have built through the hyperledger fabric. So that is from 11:30 onwards. So this session, now this session I will handle the hyperledger fabric, 45 minutes theoretical and 45 minutes hands-on session. So good morning, all of you, dear participants. So shall I start now? Okay. Is my screen is visible to everyone? Because I cannot see the response.
Yes, yes, visible.
Yes. Okay, sir. Thank you. So, in the overview, I'll say about the hyperledger fabric and what are the hyperledger umbrella. What are the other than fabric? What are the hyperledger tools? And then the state machine replication. I'll say yesterday's session it was handled by Sibanshu, where he has told you about what is a peer, what is the order, what is organization, those things. I mean, those things also in brief I will tell you everything. What he has not covered also, those things I will tell you. Then hyperledger, what are the hyperledger components? What is hyperledger transaction flow? How the transaction flow occurs? And the about the hyperledger network. And I will give you some sample chain code. And after that, we'll move to the hands-on session. So this hyperledger is an umbrella. I mean, it's a group of projects of open source ecosystem, which are basically meant for the enterprise, or for you can say the business applications, blockchain development applications. So it was started in December 2015 by Linux Foundation. Although it was, I mean, this hyperledger started in 2015. So when it came with the few tools like Burrow, Fabric, Iroha, Sawtooth, Indy, and these hyperledger projects or hyperledger tools, it came in the year 2015. Then in 2017, this hyperledger has given some advanced tools like Hyperledger Composer, Hyperledger Explorer, and Hyperledger Quilt. So this project is a collaborative effort by its members to build the open source distributed ledger framework, and it can be used to develop and implemented industry blockchain applications and systems. And this Hyperledger is a modular blockchain technology. It provides robust and efficient standards for blockchain ledger technology to facilitate the commercial adoptions. And basically, what I mean to say is these are for the business application, or you can say the enterprise applications. And this application is a programming interface. As you know, this Hyperledger supports the chain code. Like in Ethereum, what we are doing, we are writing the smart contract with the help of some language. Either it may be a Solidity or it may be a Viper. But here we are writing the programming interface or programming language with the help of the chain code. This chain code can be written with the help of JavaScript, or it can be written with the help of Go language. There are some other language, TypeScript. There are some other languages are also there, and it supports. I mean, this Hyperledger has no cryptocurrency in it, and it is the host of many other projects such as Fabric, Caliper, Indie, Iroha, Sawtooth, Composer, Explorer, and Burrow. So you can see here, this Hyperledger is like an umbrella which has many tools. I mean, like starting from Borrow, from FD, Grid, Indie, Iroha, all these tools are there. I'll say few words about all these tools. What is the importance of all these tools? I'll say in brief. Like Fabric, it was before Fabric. I mean, this Ethereum has been the production for the first few years. I mean, it was the only blockchain application, and this Fabric is the enterprise application, as we say, and we can write our chain code, and it has the tools like chain code and other components like node, channel, identity management, Fabric certificate authority. It can issue certificate, it can access the users. I mean, and it follows some consensus. I mean, basically it follows the PBFP consensus, or it is a pluggable. You can use your consensus algorithm over here. Next, about the composer, as it was discussed in previous session by Sivanshu, composer is a tool which run on the top of the Fabric, and it simplifies the application development on the over the your Fabric. It is a simplified tool where you might have seen while Sivanshu was giving. It has like 4 components. I mean, you can model your file. I mean, a model file that is called a .c2 file. Logic. You can write your logic where validation, verification can be done with the help of this JavaScript. So this logic file is a JavaScript file. Then this composer also contains a permission, like whom you want to give the permission, allow whom you want to give the read and write permission in the network, and a query language. Suppose you want to query about something, or you want to manipulate of your data search, those things can be done. So composer basically what it simplifies the application development over the Hyperledger Fabric. It contains 4 that you have to remember. Model file, you have to design a model file, you have to write a logic with the help of the JavaScript, and you have to give the permission through the permission, and you have to
हेलो नमस्कार. हाँ जी नमस्कार.
I am getting some noise. Hello.
ठीक है.
Can you
उस पर साइन किया है?
Just a minute.
Please ensure that your mic is in mute mode.
Okay, thank you. Next is our sawtooth. Sawtooth it came from the word sawtooth seafood case. I mean, sawtooth was a lake. It is a lake, this sawtooth it was basically used for the supply chain. And one interesting thing is when it came to Limelight, where they have attached this hyperlogical, they have attached many sensors to fishes captured from the sea all throughout its transportation journey till the plate in the restaurant. So you can imagine, I mean, from starting from the capturing of the fish, they have attached some sensor, and they have attached some sensor, and throughout the transportation till the restaurant also they have captured everything. They have monitored, they have trace everything, they can trace it. And it supports basically two consensus algorithm, that is proof of concept and proof of elapsed time. So if you have a good supply chain, I mean, if you want to work in supply chain, I mean, this fabric supports as well as this sorted look is a very good tool for you. And as far as the transaction per second is concerned, this is more, I mean, the TPS is more in case of this software compared to your fabric. Next is hyperledger Indy. So it is also, I mean, Indy, as the name you might have guessed, it provides the tools and library and reusable components for providing the digital identities. You know, this identity becomes a, I mean, headache when we have more and more number of IoT devices. So there are several key generation algorithm, MD5, like MD5, which generates number of identities or number of keys for the users. So this hyperledger Indy, particularly if you work with the identity of an identity, digital identity of a person or of an organization, then you can work with this. And it supports the independent identity on the blockchain also. Next is borrow. When this borrow is a permission, it is like a Ethereum smart contract. In Ethereum, we have seen how MetaMask, I mean, how contracts can be deployed, how this MetaMask, NHA, Truffle can be worked together. But similarly, this borrow is a permission. All of you know this Ethereum is a public network, but here they, what they have done, this hyperledger borrow, they have designed in such a way it is a permission Ethereum smart contract blockchain which is based on the Monax platform, and it has also a high transaction throughput, and it uses the PBFT based consensus engine. So why Fabric? I've said many hyperledger tools, but most of the case, I mean, most of the developer or most of the of us were using this Fabric because it is, I mean, matured, we can say. It has come up with several, I mean, two versions, 1.2, 1.4, and 2.0. I mean, it has come up with many versions. So, and it is most important is it is a permission. Like Ethereum was a public blockchain, it is a private blockchain. I mean, the user who wants to be joined, it is the sole responsibility of the administrator whom he gives access. It is not that all of the user can join without the consent of the admin. So it is a private blockchain, you can say. It is basically a private blockchain, and it maintains the privacy. It has a smart contract which can be written in, I mean, it is chain code which can be written in JavaScript, TypeScript, Go language, as I've said before. And it has a pluggable consensus like PBFT, and there are some other consensus algorithm also. And there is no concept of mining, as we have seen in case of Bitcoin or in Ethereum. Bitcoin, basically in Bitcoin, a lot of electrical energy, I mean, consumed for this mining process. You might have heard about the China where this mining process, I mean, is very much active, and they consume large amount of energy. So that is the disadvantage, you can say. Proof of work, what I've, I mean, earlier we have discussed also. Proof of work, it consumes more amount of energy. So this Bitcoin, after this Bitcoin, this Ethereum came into the existence. where it supports your programming concept. I mean, you can you can write your code, you can implement it, and then there is there is a testnet. You can run your network with the help of the testnet, and you can run the network in mainnet also. I mean, full node. You can run the network in the full node also. So there is no concept of forking over here. And one most important last is that is the container technology. This container is something while installing this fabric, there are some dependencies with the other softwares. So this container, it binds all these dependency files in one. So you might have heard about the Docker container. This Docker basically contains all the images of your software, and container is it binds all the dependency which supports your fabric. So these have like discussed. I mean, identity management. Fabric has inbuilt module which provide the membership identity services. I mean, it can add the user. It can provide the user ID with authentications. And as I said, it is a permission blockchain, and there is no cryptocurrency. Okay. I was telling about the Docker. As I said, it is container. It contains all the dependency, everything. So Docker is a tool which is designed to make it easier to create, deploy, and run application by using the container. It's a tool. Okay. So container, it supports all the dependencies which are needed for your fabric or any other application. If you run this fabric within a container, so no dependency, no errors you get. It supports all the library as well as all the dependency in a single package, you can say, single package. So Docker Cloud is also there, where developers and IT operators need to build, ship, and run any application. Where this dependency, everything will be stored in the cloud. This is your Docker Cloud. Next is state machine. This replication of ledger is important in blockchain. Wherever in case of Ethereum also, in case of here also, this machine replication or ledger replication is important. So as we are running this application in a distributed scenario, so it has to be fault tolerant. It has to support some fault tolerant algorithms, and there are some consensus algorithm of distributed network you might have heard about, that is PBFT, practical Byzantine fault tolerant. There are some other algorithm like Paxos, other algorithms are there. So this cross fault tolerant, here Fabric supports two types of, basically one is Solo and another is Kafka. This Paxos, these are used in, this is a distributed consensus algorithm. These are used in older days, similarly RAP, but Solo and this Kafka is mostly used in case of your fault tolerant. So what exactly this fault tolerant algorithm do? You consider in a distributed scenario, let's say there are number of nodes, let's say 15, 20, or any number of nodes. So this ledger has to be synchronized, and whenever you are doing any transaction, this transaction as well as the ledger has to be synchronized in all the nodes. So in such a way, this synchronization has to be occurred in such a way there should not be any fault. If let's say there is any malicious node, let's say out of 10 node there is 2 malicious node who wants to do the other way, they want to do the wrong things, or they have the wrong intention, then also this fault tolerant algorithm will support. You can say this will tolerate even if there is some faulty nodes also. So basically there are two fault tolerant algorithm, which was yesterday Sivansh was telling, but he has not discussed it. So I'll tell about this Solo and Kafka. This Solo means single ordering. Remember, this hyperledger It contains organization, years, ordering, then validation of your transaction. This is the way of your transaction flow. So you have an orderer, which the task of this orderer is it collects the ordering of the transaction. It collects the ordering of the transaction. So Solo is basically single ordering. This mode is used for the development and should never be used in the production. Why in production? Because in single, if you have a single order, what will happen? What will happen? You can say it is a single point of failure. I mean, let's say one order is there. If by chance it is not reachable or sorry unreachable or it goes down, then you cannot communicate. I mean, the ordering cannot take place. So what I said, it can be used for the development and should not never be used for the production. So it is simpler to set up. Just see this diagram. It is simpler to set up, but allows for only one ordering services node in the whole network. Only one ordering, I mean, it's a single point of failure, which leads to the fault tolerant fabric network. So it is, as I said, it is not used in production. So you can see in there are two images in the left side. The first image is like Solo. So the dotted lines are like the links where no communication occurs. If one orderer gets faulty, then the whole network goes down. And there is another image that is the Kafka. And mostly this Kafka ordering is used nowadays. I mean, this is the best ordering services used in the fabric. Nowadays, this is used for the production. You are producing any application, then this Kafka ordering is the best. So what this Kafka ordering does, this ordering services utilize a Kafka service when generating blocks. Kafka is a fault tolerant commit protocol and has a partition for every blockchain in the network. A combination of Kafka service and a zookeeper. Remember, when you it has inbuilt. I mean, Solo. I can choose. You can choose either a Solo ordering or a Kafka ordering. So whenever you are choosing a Kafka ordering, it by default this ordering it selects a zookeeper service. It is another service that makes the ordering service and achieves the crash fault tolerant. I mean, fault tolerant ordering. So you can say this Kafka is a fault tolerant. It can tolerate any fault in the network. Even if let's say here what I said single ordering, here you can have multiple ordering. You can see in the top there is the order 1 and below there is the order 2. So even if order 1 gets fail, the communication between the organization and the peers can be taken. I mean, it has it can be go through this order 2. So this is important, and this Kafka is used nowadays. Next. Getting some oil. Kindly mute your mic. No. Now, next is about the detail of this fabric. Here you can see, as I said, a fabric contains a node. Just I'll say in brief. I mean, nodes are the communication entities that are known as the these are the basic entities. And node can either be a client node or it can submit the transaction. Basically, the role of this one is you can submit the transaction. It's like a client. So client can be anything. Either it can be a browser, it may be a message, it may be an email, it can be anything. So this fabric also supports some channel because discussed in earlier session also. Let's say there are three entities A, B, and C. and they communicate with each other through a channel, through some communication link, right? Through a single communication link, A to B or A to C or B to C. They communicate among themselves through a single channel. Now, let's say A wants to transact, I mean, A wants to communicate with B with some secret channel or secret link. Those can be possible over here. So a fabric can have your network, or basically you are configuring a network. A network can have a single channel or it can have a multiple channel. And as I said, this chain code, like Solidity in Ethereum, the smart contracts of fabric can be written in Go, or it can be Java, or it can be TypeScript. So this chain code runs inside this Docker container. Your chain code uh, runs inside the Docker container, and it uses level DB and couch DB. Your fabric uses the level DB as well as couch DB. Then identity management as a service. This provides membership service that enrolls the members. I mean, those users or any roles with any roles groups, as well as digital signature of their accounts. It adds digital signature of their accounts. Next is Fabric Certificate Authority, which provides it takes care of the registration and issuance of the certificates also. So as you can see here, this order and execute. I mean, I'm just what we're doing. I mean, let's say the transactions are ordered, then execute, then updated. But it has a demerit, like you have to go sequential execution of this, and this has to be deterministic execution. Like, but in case of execute and order, the process goes like this. You execute. I mean, this execution takes place in peers. I mean, it may be an endorsing peer, it may be a committing peer. Endorsing peers are those peers which initiates, I mean, which endorses the transactions, and it creates the read write set, and it does the endorsement, everything. And there are some peers also called as the committing peers, which commits the transaction. But this commit peers, it only take part when you are ordering. I mean, this endorsing services, what it does, it endorses the transaction, then it sends to the orderer, or this orderer, work of this orderer is to ordering of the services, I mean, ordering of the transaction. Then after that, the committing peers, the work of this committing peer is to validate the transaction and save the transaction. Then finally, you are getting the state, I mean, update state, everything. So this is the basic structure. I mean, like you can see here, a client can be anybody. I mean, either you are developing an application, and a client, it can be a web browser through which you are submitting any transaction. So basically, transaction means either a read operation or a write operation. Basically, either it can be a read or it can be a write operation. So whenever you, let's say you are developed a supply chain application and you want to trace where the product has been, I mean, in which way the product has been coming through. So as a client, you want to, what you want to do, through your web browser of your laptop or mobile, you want to verify those things. So you submit, or you are queuing as a client, through the web browser, you are queuing, or you are submitting, you are ordering something, that is the transaction also. So this Fabric SDK, it supports, I mean, Fabric has the inbuilt module like SDK, and it has, as I said, endorser node, committer node, orderer node. So this Fabric, work of this Fabric SDK is propose the transaction through the client. Then the role of this endorser and the committer node is they verify it and response it to the Fabric SDK. And the endorsed transaction, which are endorsed by a peer or node, those are given to the orderer for ordering services. As I said, these ordering services can be a solo or it can be a Kafka. Solo is a single ordering, or Kafka you have many orderer. You may have more than one orderer, 2, 3, or any number of orderer. So finally, in this ordering service, what it does, it orders all the transaction and it broadcasts all these transactions to the committing peer or to the blockchain, you can say all other peers in the system. So as I said, this is the serial. I mean, serially I wrote. As you can see, this application, SDK application, you can submit a proposal through the client. Then in the endorsing peer, you see endorsing peer execute the chain code to simulate the proposal in peer. I mean, it may be query, read, write, set, everything can be done over here. Then third is after endorsement of a transaction is done, it again you have to, I mean, this endorsing peer sends back to the application, I mean SDK part. Then this role of this SDK is it verifies, it sends it to the committing peers and for the ordering some of the transaction include the event set. Then the ordering services, it orders all the P8 batches and all the transaction, it orders all the transaction. And finally the committing peer, they verify the transaction and they validate and verify the transaction. And it also see, that is also important thing, that is the endorsement policy. This endorsement policy is something, it can be 0 or 1. Means 0 means let's say none of the peers are agree. I mean it's a endorsement policy, either you can give 0, I mean all the peers has to be agree, or none of the peers has to be agree, or part of them. Let's say there are 4 nodes, let's say 2 agree, then also this endorsement policy works. It has to be, this is the set of rules has to be decided by the developer. So this ordering I've discussed as a solo Kafka, and ordering basically it collects the transaction. Similarly, membership provider peer-to-peer. Another important I wrote over here. This Fabric supports for communication between the nodes. It supports some certain protocols, like Gossip is one protocol. It supports some other protocol also. This is the transaction flow. You can see here. Initially, we have a client. I mean, any number of clients. Let's say this client submits a transaction. Let's say you want to read something or write something with the authentication of the Fabric certificate authority, provided you have given with the authority or some authentication key. So you can read and write. So these reading and writing operations are then submitted to the endorsing peers. As you can see here, there are 3 endorsing peers, endorsing peer 1, 2, 3. They get, I mean, through different client and a number of web browser, they get the response, I mean, for the reading or writing. Now, this work of this endorsing peer is to, it checks, I mean, it endorses the transaction and sends an acknowledgement to the client, I mean client SDK application. Then in the third, this endorsing transactions are sent to the ordering services, which orders the transactions. This work of this ordering service orders the transaction. Then again, this ordering services, it verifies the endorsement and validate and policy. As I said, there are some endorsing policy. It verifies the ordering service, verifies, and it sends back to the client or endorsing peers. Finally, this after verification and validation of the transaction, it is sent to the committing peers. So peers can be endorsed, it can be endorsing peer, it can be committing peer. There are some other peers also, anchor peer, there are some other peers available in the Hyperledger. So this is the block structure of an Hyperledger. I mean, yeah, you can see it contains a block header, a block data, I mean what transaction, I mean the transactions are also recorded. You can see T1, T2, T3, and the number of transactions are bundled together along with what the previous header, and there are some metadata also available. All these things. This is a block structure of your hyperledger. Then here one thing is the transaction. I mean, the transaction basically contains a when you, I mean, any transaction has to be verified and validated. What do you mean by validated? You are adding a signature, digital signature, or any, you are adding a signature. So this transaction contains this signature, I mean, signature and proposal, and it also some responses, what responses you are getting, and the endorsement policies are also embedded in this transaction. This is the transaction structure of a. So this is the network. As you can see, there are, I mean, in the left side there is one client, the right side there is another one client. These are the application SDK applications which submit the transactions to the peers. But before that, it has to be submitted to the membership service provider. I mean, the role of this membership service provider, it checks whether you are authentic person or not. It provides along with the, I mean, certificate authority, this membership service provider, the role of this membership service provider is to check whether you are an authentic or not. Then this service provider, it sends the transaction, forward this transaction to the peers in the system, and this peer, they communicate with the ordering system, I mean, ordering services. It may be, as I said, it may be Solo or Kafka. So you need, I mean, while communicating, you may have the protocols like gossip protocol, you may have some other TCP protocols. This supports, I mean, all these protocols. So what I was telling about the fabric, and now see, this is the composer architecture. As I said, composer is run over the fabric. It's a hands-on tool which supports, it's a easy tool which supports this hyperledger transactions. So this composer architecture, as I said, basically there are 4 files: model file, logic file, permission file, and query files. Yesterday also Sivansh was telling how to create a business network or a network. Basically, we in terms of hyperledger, we tell it as a banana file. You have to create a banana file, and you have to write all this. I mean, you have to model your language. In the next slide, I have given, I mean, some how to write model, how to logic, those things I have discussed. So this is the composer architecture. You can say 4 languages. I mean, 4 model, 4 structure: query, permission, logic, model file. Then you have to create a business network, and you have to deploy it. I mean, this fabric is a distributed ledger technology, and whereas this composer is a runtime environment which is which runs over the top of your fabric. And as I said, this admin work of this fabric certificate authority is to provide the role, I mean, the role as well as control to all other participants. This participant, see, this participant in the next slide, you can see here. Let's say there is a health care framework. So how you can proceed? You have to, while modeling, you have to find out who can be the participant. I mean, who are going to use this? Who can be participant? Who can be asset? What are the transaction can occur? Those things can be modeled in a CTO file, .CTO file. So participant can be the healthcare. It can be a doctor. It can be patient. It can be emergency. It can be medicine supplier. It can be pharmaceutical company. It can be anything. Okay. Similarly, asset is what information you are passing. Asset is like what transaction. Let's say you are buying medicine, and there is a cost of, there is something, I mean, cost of medicine. You have some cost of medicine. Those things can be represented as the transaction. Either there may be a monetary transaction, or there may be some information has to be processed through this transaction. Next is your logic. Logic, you have to basically write it through the JavaScript. So this JavaScript file, it contains the verification and validation mechanism. Whom should you, I mean, whom you should give the access, whether to read or to write. Let's say there is a prescription. This prescription has to be written by whom? Doctor. So doctor has you have to give the authentication to doctor. He can write and prescription. Now, let's say there is some medicine store. Now the work of this medicine store is to read the prescription and supply the medicine. So the medicine stores, they cannot modify. They cannot write these prescriptions. So all the logics, I mean, whom to allow. This logics can be written over here. Similarly, there is some permissions. Also, permission language you can write, and this read, write, everything can be written over here. And let's say someone wants to query. Let's say you have supplied, you have donated blood at, let's say 1 month before. You want to query at what time you have supplied, what is your blood group, and other test reports also can be queried, whether the doctor is available or not. Those things can be written in the query language. So this is the, I mean, healthcare framework. It can be the framework for your composer. Then the comparison your Fabric and Hyperledger Fabric with Ethereum. As I said before, this Ethereum is a public blockchain. Any user, I mean, those who want to join can be part of this network. But Fabric is it is a permission or a private network. So in terms of infrastructure and application, I've given some differences or comparison. So this Ethereum nodes are, I mean, running Ethereum client, whereas Fabric has peer, orderer, all these things. Then Ledger, this distributed ledger, it can be kept by everyone in case of Ethereum. But in case of Fabric, it is kept by the peers only. Similarly, cryptocurrency, Ethereum supports, I mean, Ether is the cryptocurrency, whereas Hyperledger Fabric has no cryptocurrency. While writing the application, as I said before, Solidity, Viper, there are some other there are some other languages which can be supported by the Ethereum. Whereas Fabric, it supports Go language, Node, Java, JavaScript, TypeScript. There are many other languages which is supported by the Hyperledger Fabric. So, as I said, these are the main, I mean, some basic function or main important function a chain code contains. So basically, init, invoke, query, main. So this init is, it initializes, I mean, whenever you are deploying, it initializes the chain code. The result, it changes the states, which accordingly update the ledger. Similarly, invoke is when a contract is invoked, then this function, it also changes it changes and writes to the ledger. Whenever you are invoking any transaction, this invoke has to be written. Let's say you are querying something, then this query function has to be written. You are querying, you are manipulating, you are asking for something, then this query function has to be deployed. Then main, which combines all these things. So this is the supply chain Hyperledger project. As you can see here, basically you consider, after this I will do the hands-on session. So you can see here on the top of there are let's say 4 entities. One is producer, shipper, retailer, and regulator. Now as a client, our work is we order something. We order for something. So this retailer, it looks after the purchase order, what you are ordering, and producer, it accepts the order. And the regulator, what you have to see, you have to verify the order. Whether where it is, everything you have to verify the order. And as a shipper, you have to check this shipment status. Create shipment, everything. Those things you have to do. So there are basically 4 entities, and how with the help of this Fabric SDK and client, we have developed the application. I mean, we'll do in the next session. So you can see here this whenever you are ordering something, it is recorded in the blockchain platform. Let's say this purchase order has to be seen by the retailer, that can be seen from the blockchain platform. Everything is recorded for all the entities. So here we'll use, I mean, you are the user, so we'll use the Angular application. Basically, it is a user interface for the your web browser. This supports through the, it's a client, I mean, web browser through which you can see the all these things. So there is you have to install the node JS server also, Fabric SDK. Then we'll see in the next. This is the sample of the chain code. This is main chain code, and these are the initialization function, and this is like invoke function. These are my references. Okay. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to the hands-on session. So before that, let me show you something. The hands-on session we'll do it through the IBM blockchain platform. So there are some prerequisites. I'll send all these details to you, but there are many softwares has to be, I mean, you have to install. So as you can see here, you need a VS Visual Studio Code and Docker container. You can, and remember, you have to, while installing, you have to install the particular versions, because this IBM blockchain, it supports only its prerequisite is with the specified versions. So 1.39 Visual Studio Code has to be 1.39. While installing Docker, you have to install version 17.6.2, and the Composer also, the Docker Compose. Similarly, Node, which is a server, if you want to perform any server-side response or some server-side application, so you have to install also Node, and npm is the package which supports all these things. And you can install the Golang. So you have to, these are the prerequisites which are sent to, I mean, you have to set your path also. So this is one way through the Visual Studio. So here also I've given two, I mean, case studies. Like one is crowdfunding, another one is supply chain. And dependency file, while installing, you have to see the dependency file. This is one way. So you can see the image here. This is the Visual Studio Code, where you have an extension and you have to type in the extension IBM blockchain platform. And as you are getting in a blue background, 4 I mean, lines, square box, and that is the software. You have to install it, but before installing, you have to install all other things like Docker container, Golang, Node.js with specified version. All those things you have to install. Otherwise, it will not run. So this is. And there is other way also, that is if you have a IBM cloud account, you can choose the option 2. Let's say you have an IBM account, a cloud account, and they basically provide 2 types of account. One is a light account, I mean, which is free, which they do not charge anything, and the other one is chargeable. So with the free account also you can do, but my suggestion is you can do with the option 1. I'll send all these things. because until and unless you set the environment, you cannot run the transactions, and you cannot deploy your application. So this has to be in Ubuntu and Oracle virtual boxes. Okay. As you can see my screen. Uh, so this is the Visual Studio, I mean VS Code, where we have already I have installed. So you get, while installing, you get this one. So before that you have to install. So for you, what you can do, you can search the extensions like just a minute. Here, just a minute. You can search. See, IBM. And this is the software, IBM blockchain platform. You have to install it, and before that, you have to install all those prerequisites. So you can, I mean, here I've installed. That's why I'm getting uninstalled and disabled. But while if you are a first-time user, you will get an install menu over here. You can click on that and you can install it over here. Now remember, you have to search in the extensions. Okay. And here also you can search for the other parameters like Docker. Docker also you can install. I mean, Go language, everything can be installed over here. So next, we move to this IBM blockchain platform. As you can see here, this basically have 4 tabs like a smart contract, Fabric environment, Fabric gateway, Fabric wallets. So I'll tell each of, each of them. So this smart contract, what it contains? It contains, I mean, already I have installed something, that's why it is showing. But I'll show you how to deploy an application or any smart contract or any chain code. Either it is written in Go language or it is written in JavaScript, TypeScript, or anything. I've already installed the supply chain, this one. So it contains the, and remember this smart contract, it has the extension of .cds. This supply chain, it has the extension of .cds. Okay? Next is your Fabric environment, where you can install your this smart contract you have already deployed. So you can install and instantiate. All those things can be done over here. Then you get this gateway is how many organization, how many peers, all those things can be seen over here. So what else? Just a minute. you can clone this one. This is a GitHub repository. Let's say we'll do this. You might have heard about IBM code pattern. I mean, there this is available. I mean, all the codes are they make it available for the public. So you can see here. This is the code pattern of your IBM website, where they have made the code as well as they have given the demo. I mean, the visual demo is also available. They have given the network setup, and the codes are available. Everything is available here. And post the link in a chat box also. Okay. So see here. Even they have given the video, I mean, how to deploy everything there. This is what I was discussing. And then this is the flow diagram. And then there are some videos that are also given. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. In the documentation, okay. So as I said, the step one is you have to clone this repository. I mean, this repository. You can use this command git clone, then the URL name. And then you have to start the Fabric runtime. As you can see here, there are 4 smart contracts: Fabric, Fabric environment, Fabric gateway, and wallets. So while you have to deploy first this one, then you have to install and initiate. I mean, all of this takes actually near about 15 to 20 minutes, and more than that also. Even if I'll show some. So you have to start your Fabric runtime, then you have to install and initiate your the contract. What contract? This supply chain contract you have to install and initiate. Then you have to see your connection profile. You have to export the connection profile, and you have to see. Then this wallets you have to work. Then finally, what you have to do, build and run the application. You have to be building in terms of you have to install the npm packages. You have to install the server as well as the client side application. As I said, you have Node. This is the basic application. So the server and client applications are, built in the step 6. Then what happens? As I said, this Angular application, that also you have to install, because install, you can say Node.js server, install npm, all these things have to be. And finally, after installing, what you have to do, through the Angular application, you can submit, as a client, you can submit your transaction. Here, in terms of supply chain, your transaction is nothing but the order. So, the Fabric Certificate Authority, which creates the client, it creates the admin, it creates, regulator, everything. It creates producer, shipper, all these entity can be created by your Fabric Certificate Authority. So you can run this one using by this local host 4200 in your local machine. So because you are deploying it over here, and then you can submit the transaction like this. So port you have to check. In the connection profile, you can check your profile. If it is, port number here, it is the port number is 4200. Like it may be different for you also. So as I said, this Fabric admin supports you have to give the admin and password, and you can create the user. As I said, you can create the producer user. Here we have created a producer like GHFR, and we have created a retailer like Walmart, in shipper like UPS, and customer like a customer, and a regulator like a FDA. So each has, while writing the code code, you have to design, in such a way. This producer has its own role. Uh, the retailer has to purchase the orders, uh, and producer has to accept the orders, and the regulator has to verify the orders, and shipper has to create the shipment process. All these things you have to, while writing, it is available in the code, but while you are designing something, you have to write in that way. So so see here, in smart contract, as I said, there are 4 tabs. Each tab has its own importance. So what you have to do, see here, smart contract, you are getting create new project, import a packet, package, open project. So if you are, let's say, you don't have any code and you want to create a project, so it has the inbuilt capability. It can create a skeleton of your project. Let's say, what I'll do, this one. Let's say default. I'll click on default contract. So it will create a default contract with one organization and one MSP. So I can say it creates a contract as of your need. Let's say you want to create a contract with the help of JavaScript. So it basically creates a skeleton of your project. Skeleton means some files, some JSON files, some JavaScript skeleton file. And after that, what you can do, you can go to that JavaScript and you can modify as per your need, as per your application. So just a minute, what I'll do, this one, I will delete this package. You can see over here. You can see successfully delivered. Now what I'll do, that repository I have cloned. Also, how to import a package. So you have to click import a package, then browse. See, I have a crowdfunding, that is also another, but it is written in the Go language, and this supply chain, it is written in the JavaScript. So I'll click on this. And then the CDF file. This is the scripts here. Oh, it is already deployed. That's why it is showing. So, but you can clone the repository, and you have to import the JavaScript file while importing the file. You have to import the JavaScript file. Already it is deployed. That's why it is showing this CDS file. Okay. Otherwise, you'll get the JavaScript. The supply chain is a JavaScript file, JavaScript code. So you can get in the script section of that one. Already it is deployed. That's why it is showing this one. Okay. So successfully loaded. Now, what you can see. They already deployed, so that's why it is the JavaScript file is also here. So, your first step is you have to deploy the JavaScript that supply chain over here. Next, see, what you have to do, you have to package that one. You have to already it is in CDS file because when it is installed, when it is deployed, it will be in the JavaScript format. But when you package it, it will become CDS. I mean, the extension will become CDS. Then in the fabric environment, what you have to do? See, this one. Export package, view package information. You can export this package. Other it is already everything, but let's say what I'll do. Then I will export this file and already. So you have to deploy. You have to package it. Next. Finally, I'll show this contract also. This JavaScript contract I'll show you. Next, you can see this one. Next is what you have to do in fabric environment. You have to create what? As I said, you have to create some organization in peers. Those things can be done over here. So what you have to do? Create a new template. Let's say what. Either you want one organization with one peer or two organizations with those options. I mean, options are available with you. So let's say enter the name. You can give a name of your any choice. Let's say supply chain. Yes, this name already exists. I have already created. That's why it is showing. You can I mean delete this one, and after deploying you can install. I mean fabric. You can add the fabric environments also. So I'll say the process only. So you have to click over see the plus button. You have to click over here, and you have to search. Create a new this one. Okay. Then what is, let's see here. Uh, so whenever you are clicking the fabric environment, let's say supply chain or one organization, this will run. And this you can see in the output screen or in terminal. In output screen, you can see the platform is running. Already it is in deployed. That's why it is showing some error. Next is so this environment can be this fabric environment. As I said, either you can have a IBM cloud platform. So if you have a cloud, you can log into your cloud platform, IBM cloud platform with a username and password. So you can deploy in the cloud also, IBM cloud also. So now once it is, I mean, run. Okay, it's run. It will take some time. Next, you come to this fabric gateway. Here, what you have to give? See, they said there are some connection profile. You have to supply some connection profile. What are the organization, everything. You can give it over here. You can pass some name also. Here I have given same that supply chain. So, I mean, you can see here there are two organizations, with each one peer. So these organization, what you have to do, the chain code has to be installed, as I said, has to be installed and instant in over here. You can see here. You have to click to connect to this organization 1 and organization 2. And finally, you have to supply the, as I said, the admin role, the fabric certificate authority role can be supplied over here. There are order, but instead of giving the admin, you can give it to over here. I mean, to each organization, you can give the admin. You can give the user ID password, so that when the contract is run, I mean, it is run in the port. It can create the users. It can be, I mean, as I said, the users can be retailer, producer, regulator, shipper. Those things can be created by this admin. So this admin, because I mean, initially it was not before. So what you have to, whenever you run this supply chain, it will automatically create orderer, organization, and I mean number of organization. Here we are given 2 organizations with 1 year each. So this admin also the documentation basically. Okay. Let's say we want to create this is the supply chain project. So this import project I have said for this supply chain. Similarly, see, you can what you can do. You can browse. Let's say, as I was saying, there is a crowdfunding project. So you see here. So this is the section code. This is also deployed before. That's why it is showing the extension. But here, what you get? You get the file name with an extension of the language. Let's say crowdfunding. It is written in Go language. So crowdfunding dot go. In that case, you will find supply chain dot javascript dot js file. You can see here the instructions. So this is the visual they have given. how they are created. I mean, when they run in the local host, like I was saying, port number 4200, they are getting like this. You can create the user. As I said, you can create producer, retailer, regulator, shipper. You can with some responsibility, with some role. This is done by the admin. Okay. You see, so these are the prerequisites. You can see here. Here, how to clone the repository. The command is also given, like git clone that file name. Next, how to run the fabric, that is also given. So as you can see here, the fabric environment, it shows a full video also. This blockchain, IBM blockchain platform, how this environment is running. In the below, you can see here this IBM blockchain platform. It will show what you are doing. The contract is deployed in this environment, fabric environment. As I said, it is installed as well as instantiated over here. In the, next, see here, it is also given how to instantiate. The videos are given. You have to install. You have to click over install once, and you have to click over instantiate once. Already it is deployed, that's why it is showing the .cds file. Otherwise, as you're seeing, you get all these inputs, everything you get over here. This connection profile, as I said, you have to export because you have to export, and you have to see, you have to connect your peers and organization through your chain codes. And finally, as I said, the wallet is like your fabric certificate authority. It is a combination of certificate authority and identity management. Here you can create the here you can create the admin. All the videos are available, and video as well as documentation. Every documentation is available. You can try with. So if you go to that folder, what you have copied, blockchain, I mean supply chain, you can see the connection profiles also. And finally, you have to, in a terminal, you have to deploy it. As in the previous session, Sivan was telling, you have to use some command .sh command. You have to start your fabric. It is already started, but while deploying, you have to deploy with some admin cards. And finally, what you can do, you can submit the transaction. You can run it on your local machine. All these 4 steps, when all these 4 steps are done, you can use this local host. And these are the forms. What you want to permission, and whether you want to give the permission, the user as a retailer, producer, regulator, what permission you want to give. And all these execution can be, as I said, it can be seen in your output box. What you are doing. And this is about the supply chain. Similarly, just for contract. See here. So whenever I was saying before, whenever let's say you have not, you have not copied, you have cloned any repository. You are good. You are comfortable in JavaScript or Java or any language, Go language. So what you can do, you can create your own project. As I've done here. See what you have to do. These 3 dots you have to remember. You click over here, create a new project. Let's say default contract, and it asks whether you want to create a contract in terms of Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, or Go language. Let's say you are giving JavaScript. By default, it is showing some asset, my asset. Let's say, okay, give it, then browse where you want to import all these files. I mean, as I said, it will provide a skeleton of your system. Let's say there is just project default contract. Let's say with the help of JavaScript, name is, let's say, asset, where you want to import home created one project. Let's say I'm giving this, save this. What it will do, let's see, not space. Just wait for some time and see. I will look on. It is creating a smart contract skeleton. It generates a smart contract skeleton with what language? JavaScript language. Okay. Now it has been created. Now go to that folder. Just see. See. So all these things are, I mean, it creates a skeleton. I mean, index, JavaScript. This is the JavaScript file of your project. You can edit it, and this is the JSON file, everything. The transaction data, everything is available. You can, as it is a skeleton, it only contains this much. You can design, you can code over here. So while installing, you may get, I mean, that's why I said particular version. While installing, you have to install the particular versions only, so that while compiling, otherwise, while compiling, all, I mean, you get many errors. This is, let's say, that my asset we have created. See, yes, this is the JavaScript file. The skeleton, right? Where this contract, I mean, is written. It is. Okay. This is how you can deploy. In these 4 steps, as I said, the 4 steps you have to follow. One is how to deploy the smart contract over here. Next is how to add the fabric environments over there. I mean, with how many organization, how many peers you want to run the systems. Then gateways, like you have to, as I said, you have to install and initiate all the organization and peers. You have to, that chain code must run in all these, I mean, organization 1 and organization 2. Then finally, wallet, as I said, and this is the work of like fabric, certificate authority, and membership service provider. You are installing the admin, and afterwards, what you can say, after these 4 steps are done, you can go to your command prompt or your terminal, where you can deploy this supply chain, and you can run it on the your port, which port you have provided. You can run it, and as I said, you have given the admin permission, so you can create with specific role. I mean, you can create the users with the specific roles. Okay. Okay. Any questions? I can handle. Dear participant, if you have any question, just let's see the chat box if you have any question. 404. You
Sir.
try this one. Madam.
Sir. Actually, now you told about Hyperledger, sir. How about Ethereum? Whether going for any particular application, going with the Ethereum is better or with the Hyperledger, sir?
No, madam, it depends on your application. I'll give two scenario. Let's say I'll give two scenario.
Okay.
Let's say a healthcare. You have an healthcare application where each user, let's say all the users, what they have to do? They have to fill their details. Let's say their height, everything. I mean their body temperature, everything they have to fill. So this is you want to find out a survey, let's say. So this is you can say public data. This can be made. I mean this can be a public data, and there are some data. There are some cases where you need to have a private blockchain. I mean, you can restrict the users from accessing those things. So Ethereum is like a public blockchain, and this Hyperledger Fabric is like a private blockchain. Restriction, any restriction.
So how if I want to go with the supply chain application, which would be better?
So it's a good question. Supply chain, see, as a admin, I'll prefer Hyperledger. Why? Here we are restricting the user by giving some specific roles. It can be, you can make it public for some user. Let's say you are the customer, you want to order for something, you can make it public. And for let's say retailer, producer, other those things, I mean other entities, you can make it as a private. You can give some administrative, I mean roles like user ID, password, those things can be embedded over here.
So Ethereum Hyperledger would be better for this, sir?
Hyperledger will be, I mean it is better for this.
Okay, sir. So can we get your email ID or contact numbers?
Everything I'll share, madam. The PPTs as well as these links, documentation links, everything I'll share with all the participants.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll continue the next session at 12. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. This is Shailesh. I just would like to suggestion from you for building a real estate application. What we can use, Hyperledger or Ethereum? Can you suggest?
Hyperledger would be better because now see, as I said, I mean Ethereum is public, Hyperledger is like a private blockchain. But maybe I found out there is another tool. It is a Microsoft Coco, which has been released last year, but it is officially, I mean, not for users. I mean, for us. Now it has not been to the production side, so we can use, definitely that will be a better blockchain, that Microsoft Coco. And what this Microsoft Coco does, it combines the feature of private and public blockchain. But before this, before this Microsoft Coco, there is no such feature. I mean, you cannot combine Ethereum with Fabric. So, but this Coco has feature. You can combine. Let's say there is a electricity. You want to pay the bills. So these bills can be made public. So what you can do, you can pay it. I mean, it can be public. You can pay your own bill. You give your consumer ID. You see the bills for the month, and you can pay. It can be public. But there are some features which has to be like private, which has to be restricted. So all these features can be combined in Microsoft Coco. That is another blockchain tool which may be an evolutionary in the next decades.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
One question is there. For document
Okay.
management application in any
Yes.
domain, what kind of
Yes.
blockchain we can use or a framework we can use?
Mm, Basically, sir, what type of documentation and management you are seeing?
Educational document, for example,
Okay,
or
okay.
educational.
So it has like educational certificate verification or documentation, those things you are saying. So Hyperledger would be this a better because as I said, it depends on what access you are giving. So in education system or in education document verification system, you have work like verification, validation of the documents. Everything has to be checked, verified and validated. So those things can be done over here in every.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll meet at 12. Huh?